like to get started right away so that we don't waste anyone's time. So I am going to just jump right in. Let's go. So a woman that I know, Marjorie, is a really talented massage therapist. She does great massage. I've had it. She's also a talented businesswoman. She has never really lacked for clients and has always had a consistently full clinic of people that she was helping and serving. She decided that she was going to, by the way, we have a lot of people in the waiting room. I don't know if you can let everybody in at the same time, or if you have to do it one at a time, or if everybody's just flooding in, but I just wanted to make sure that people get in. Anyway, so back to Marjorie. She decided, based on all of her experience and talent, that she had something to share with her fellow massage therapists to help them build their practices in a way that was really, fashioned after her own. So she spent several years creating a few courses, and because she was doing it on the side, right? She's a great writer. She's a really great course creator, and she had tons and tons of value to share. She was sharing practices that she employed in her massage clinic that made it really the top clinic in her region. And she finally completed the courses a couple of years later. She put the courses on her website. She told her local colleagues and the others that she knew, if everybody could keep their mics muted, that would be super, super helpful. And crickets. Crickets was all she heard, and she was really disappointed, and she felt like she'd wasted her effort, wasted her time. And from my perspective as her friend, there was wasted value because people were not getting the wisdom that she was sharing in these courses. And that's what happens in what we call Field of Dreams marketing. I don't know if you guys remember that movie, that Kevin Costner movie. A lot of people refer to it when it comes to business and marketing because it's very, very relevant. Because in business, Field of Dreams marketing isn't a thing. They don't come because there is no they to come because no one knows about it. So Marjorie put aside her courses for a while she licked her wounds. It's disappointing, it's very disappointing. So she licked her wounds. I think I just got muted, but anyway, she regrouped and decided to try social media. She forced herself to post about the course every day on Facebook and Instagram. She even got her hand slapped by Facebook for promoting a little too much on her personal profile. Eventually, she just stopped because it felt icky and nobody was really buying anyway. But she persevered. She created a YouTube channel. But honestly, every time she thought about shooting videos, she just felt her body slump. And as a massage therapist and somebody who's really connected with the body, she understood what that meant. It wasn't her thing, right? She could tell it wasn't her thing. Her body was not cooperating. And until she found the secret to a successful online business, that build it and they will come thing became build it and they will just sit there. So what does work? What does work to create a successful online business? What is that secret that eluded Marjorie for so long? That's what we're here for today, right? It's build an audience first that is predisposed to want your offers. When you have built the right audience in the right way, you can literally send an email and make money right away. It's the biggest question, how to build an online audience of loyal subscribers who will buy your stuff. It is the biggest question in online business. It's the big conundrum that so many people wrestle with and struggle and get frustrated with. And then of course, there are questions underneath that major overarching question, where do you find your people? What if you don't like to write? What if you have no time to do social media? What if you hate social media? What if you're an introvert? What if you don't know what to offer them? What if technology is totally overwhelming to you? I would be interested to know, of these that I just put up here on the slide, which of these do you most relate to? Which question do you most relate to? And if you can put that in the chat, and then Chung can read a couple that show up. Always gives me a chance to drink some water.
People overwhelmed with tech, they're introverted, they don't like social media. It's literally, it's like a fire hose of answers. People are not sure what to offer, where to spend their time and money. Time challenge, they don't have a lot of time.
Cool.
A lot of people seem to be very introverted and they're not sure what to offer.
Yeah, I understand. A lot of people struggle with this. And you can be, just starting out, wanting to bring to life your vision of financial freedom and impacting people. Or you can have been seeing clients for a long time, but really not super confident about bringing your business online. And a lot of people have just sort of this overarching question: is it even possible for me to have a thriving online business? Have you ever thought that to yourself? Is it even possible for me to have this, to do this? Or is it just hopeless? Am I hopeless? Some people think. And I want to say, no, it's definitely not hopeless. All you have to do is do a Facebook page and Facebook groups and Facebook lives and Facebook challenges and interact with followers and post engaging content and employ messenger bots and boost posts and do paid ads and post pictures and post stories and post Instagram reels and reach out to influencers and like and share and comment and create Pinterest boards and post engaging videos to YouTube and post engaging videos to TikTok and tweet helpful tips and host discussions on Twitter Spaces and get on dozens of podcasts, start your own podcast, pepper the internet with guest blog posts, get active in LinkedIn groups, send a LinkedIn newsletter, do a giveaway, do a summit, do JVs, give webinars, make more freebies, host clubhouse events, et cetera, et cetera. I lost my words. It's such a long, awful list. This is literally what we are being told to do, all of it. Anybody else feel like I do? When I read that list, I get exhausted just reading the list, and I can actually feel my heart pounding a little bit fast. Does anybody else feel the same way? I'm looking for either a show of hands, or you can type yes into the chat box. Yes. And that is actually nowhere near a full list of all the advice that you get about what you have to do to develop an audience. So no wonder it can feel hopeless, right? And so because of that, you might end up doing nothing or very little, right? You put your efforts off for some imaginary day when you finally know it all. You have time for it finally, you feel less nervous, like there's this imaginary day when everything's going to be perfect. So you might be doing nothing now and waiting for that day. Or you throw yourself into it and try to do all of the latest tricks and tactics. And eventually you discover, either way, that neither of those, doing nothing or trying to do everything, is going to build the audience that you want and that will set you free. So here is my line in the sand. To attract an audience that's going to engage with you and take you up on your offers, you do not have to use every social media platform or perform every activity on that exhausting list. You don't have to do Facebook to build your audience. You don't have to do LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram. You don't have to do Pinterest or YouTube or TikTok to build an ideal audience. In fact, you can build your audience without doing social media at all. I have. Or you can dive in headfirst to social media and use it to its full extent if you use it wisely. It's 100% possible, 100% possible to build an amazing audience and to build it your way. When you lean into your strengths and your preferences, AKA your archetypes, everything changes. When you choose how you build your audience, you will tap into your superpowers. And because that feels good, you won't find yourself pulling out your hair or putting things off or wasting your time and energy. So does that sound good? You can either type yes or raise your hands. Actually, Chung, after I ask people to raise their hands, if you can lower everybody's hands so that I know anew whether people are raising hands or not. Okay, I see a flood of people raising their hands. Yes, definitely sounds good. Okay, so that's good. I'm glad it sounds good to you because that's what we're doing here. Welcome to the Your Audience, Your Way Boot Camp. This is the first of 3 workshops that I'm hosting this week to walk you through the process and the opportunity that becomes available to you when you build an engaged online audience. I'm so excited. So our agenda, day 1, we're going to be talking about using your archetype to build your audience. Day 2, which is Wednesday, we'll be talking about plugging a very critical gap between attraction and sales. And on day 3, we'll be talking about monetizing your audience with offers that your audience can't resist, which is also great. So my start to audience building was pretty slow and expensive. This is how I first began building my audience. I went to conferences where I had a booth. Do you know how costly it is to go to conferences and have a booth? First, you've got the booth cost, but then you've got to come up with all of the material at your booth. You've got to fly there. You've got to stay in hotels and get meals. And it is very slow and very expensive. So that was what I did because that's what I could think of to do at the beginning. And my list grew, 100, maybe 150 or 200 at the max each time I went to a conference. Then along came social media, Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, and then LinkedIn and Instagram and I felt like I should be doing this. So I learned what to do. But honestly, I did things in fits and starts. I tried making videos. I almost never posted them. And you can see here what a natural I am. This is my YouTube page, my YouTube channel. And if you see that circle at the bottom, it says this channel has no videos. So I am proving my point to you. This is my Instagram page. It has 1 post on it. And I use Instagram only to keep in touch with my son to kind of, lurk and see what his life is like. This is my LinkedIn feed or posts, and all of my activity. And I see that my last post on LinkedIn was 11 years ago. And then my business page on social media, on Facebook, the last post there was like 3.5, almost 4 years ago. So am I the only one? Is anyone else here kind of relating to this? You can raise your hand. You don't have to out yourself on chat. Yeah, I thought so. There's pretty much of a flood there too. I don't know about you, but I got lost in the weeds. I kept trying to do social media because that's what you're supposed to do, right? And I lost sight of what I was really trying to accomplish, which was grow my business by growing my audience. I felt like a big dummy. Others were doing so great with social media, but I had such resistance. I have done plenty of stretchy things in my life, like I was in an improv troupe for 10 years. I created and performed a one-woman show in theaters, but I could not get over my resistance to social media and my resentment of that feeling of having to do everything. Meanwhile, of course, my audience wasn't really growing. And I reached a critical decision point in about 2007, late 2007. Am I going to remain a small, best kept secret forever? That was my question. Actually, it was really more like, am I going to stay in business? Right? Or am I going to go for it? Anybody else had that kind of come to Jesus moment where you decide, okay, this is happening? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for raising your hand, even though I forgot to say, please raise your hand. Clearly, I decided on the second option, right, of going for it. But I chucked all that I had been not trying to do, and found ways to build my audience that felt like me, right? That felt like I could do them consistently and I could enjoy doing them. I love giving and being of service. It's a really big value of mine. And so my very first big list building effort was a giveaway event where my co-host and I gathered a bunch of people together, all of whom were giving gifts. And so we felt like we were giving back to our industry, the industry that was supporting us. And we made a lot of headway in our list building efforts. This giveaway actually went on for 10 years. I also love interviewing people, especially on topics that excite me. So for a few years, I ran a speaker summit called On the Road and Making Money. And I got to interview all kinds of people that were living the life that I love, which is traveling and doing their business from the road. And I'm working on a new summit right now that's going to debut later this year. And I'm working on a podcast that's going to, maybe even two, that's going to be for next year. So this love of interviewing is something that I can really get behind. I made an effort to reach out to and meet colleagues with the same audience as me. That's actually not a very comfortable thing for me to do. So we got together once a year, we played and, got to talk and whatnot. But what made it okay for me to participate in was the one-on-one conversations that I had with people. But this kind of activity, where we would meet and develop real relationships and then later promote each other to our respective audiences, this is known as doing JVs, joint ventures. And I love to write. These are the two books that I've written, and they have actually helped me add about 20,000 people to my list between the two of them. So I built my audience my way. That's how I know that you too can build your audience your way. And, a lot of people, you could call them gurus or whatever, coming out of an experience like mine would say, I've found the way that everyone should follow. Listen to me, I've got the secret, I've got the answer. They'll teach their way to everyone as if it were the only way, right? But my experience told me the opposite, that everyone's way is going to be different. And while that might bring you a measure of relief, it can also add to the complexity of the situation because you have to figure out what your way is. Once I found my ways, I enjoyed audience building immensely. I know it might sound crazy to you guys, but I love audience building. And as my very responsive, very international audience grew, my business grew. Now, I haven't made $1 million in a year. It's not been a big goal of mine, but I have earned millions over the course of the years since I started growing my audience. And I would say more importantly, what's even more important to me personally is that I grew, right? My audience grew, but I grew. And I've grown comfortable conducting large online launches and teaching webinars and hosting list building events and doing various JV activities. And it no longer scares me to send emails, even very personal ones. And as my audience grew, I stepped into a place of leadership in my industry. And my freedom and my flexibility grew. Because of my online audience, I can call the shots on when and where I work. I was able to spend weeks nursing my mom in Texas after both of her knee surgeries. I get to spend lots of time with my son and his wife and their dogs and my dog. But building my audience and nurturing the relationship and learning how to make offers that my audience can't resist has made possible something even deeper and more profound than all of that goodness, right? Something that I can say, no hyperbole at all, has been truly life-changing. And that is, I'm living my heart's desire. I actually hesitated to share this photo because of what's happening in Ukraine, but honestly, it exemplifies the soul joy that I experience when I travel. And I travel with my business all over, on the years when we don't have a global pandemic raging. In the past 6 years alone, I've spent quality time in at least 27 countries. I celebrated my 60th birthday during a month in Prague. I studied tango 5 days a week during a 2-month stay in Buenos Aires. I motorcycled through the rice fields and temples of the Balinese countryside. I burst into tears as a 400-person chorus began the Handel's Messiah inside the Sydney Opera House. Oh my God, what an experience. And I burst into cheers at Sydney's New Year's Eve fireworks celebration. It really is my dream life, living for weeks, sometimes even months at a time in another location. And I'm doing it domestically now. I just got back yesterday from a month in the Sierra Mountains. It's just something that really nourishes my soul and makes me feel alive. And being able to live this dream life is a direct result of building and nurturing an authentic relationship with an online audience of potential clients, some of whom buy my programs and services. So if you want your business to fund your vision of freedom, the key to unlock it is your audience. Period. So when I look at what is most aligned with my strengths and preferences, how I gather together the different things that I did for list building activities, and I look at the archetypes as a whole that I've developed, I found that my dominant audience attraction archetype is the journalist. No surprise, since I was a journalist, right? But it works because I love to interview people and I love to be interviewed. So summits and podcasts are great activities for me. I express myself best in writing, so books are great. And if I were going to do social media, Facebook is the only one that feels really comfortable to me because there are a lot of people that use it for writing. This is the journalist to a T. So before we go into all the other archetypes, I just want to cover real quickly why this is important, why it's important to know your archetype. Well, first of all, you save time, right? Remember I told you about the videos that I filmed and never posted? I would say probably close to 50, closer to 100. I kept trying. But what else could I have been doing with that time? And what else could I have been doing without the guilt and without the worry, right? When you don't know your archetype, you really just flail around, not knowing what you're doing, either not doing anything, trying to do everything, etc. You actually save money when you know your archetype because you're not going to focus on things that really aren't part of your archetypal DNA. My friend Tom Poland has a story about spending 5 years really aggressively tackling a LinkedIn strategy. And he finally got out of doing that altogether. Spent some good money, even hired some people to work it for him. The point is that not that LinkedIn doesn't work, because I have a student who LinkedIn has been great for him, right? LinkedIn can help many people build their audience, but it wasn't really part of Tom's archetypal DNA. You can definitely save energy, your own personal work energy. When you don't know your archetype, you tend to overwork, or you tend to procrastinate and not do the things that you really want to be doing. But for me, it was always overwork. Once when I was in that mode of trying to do everything, I had not yet decided what was right for me. So I was trying to do everything, and I just was working like a mad woman. And I didn't have time to do my laundry. So I ran out of clothes to wear, which is fine if you're working at home, right? You can just wear a bathrobe, no big deal, but not if you need to walk the dog. So I wrapped myself in a blanket and walked the dog. And that is, if you really know what you're doing, you're not going to be overworking like that. And sorry, there is no picture of me in the blanket walking the dog. But when you know your archetype, you'll stay focused. Like, this is my current dog, Lulu. My earlier dog, Tuki, is the one that I had to walk with the blanket wrapped around me, but this is Lulu. And she can stay focused on a squirrel like nobody's business. And so I think she's our mascot, for good list building. We can stay focused when we really know that we're focused on the right thing. And then honestly, you can get on with helping people, right? When you apply the right audience building skills to your archetype, then you can get clients. Like, it works. So rather than struggling to find them and overworking, doing too much and not getting any results, when you know your archetype and you can focus in on the things that really work for you, you get results. And when you get results, you get to your freedom point faster. What's the freedom point? The point at which you are free to do whatever you want. When you feel the financial freedom, the time freedom, the location freedom. I know that for me, in 2007, before I started my list building, this was before that come to Jesus moment of, am I going to do this thing? So in 2007, I had been a solo parent of my son since 2001, when his father died in a car accident. And I really, really wanted to take him and show him my love of travel, like bring him with me and hopefully, inspire that in him. So we spent 2 months in Europe in the summer of 2007. It was an amazing trip, but I ended it with $6,000 in credit card debt. Like, it was totally worth it, but it was $6,000 in credit card debt. Not cool. Versus 2011, this is when I went back to Italy and I stayed there for just shy of 6 months. And while I was there, I had a launch of a new program, and it was my very first 6-figure launch. So from 6,000 in credit card debt to a 6-figure income, pretty big difference. When you don't know your archetype, you flail around, you're unfocused, you're unconfident, feels like you're pushing up a hill, spinning your wheels, whatever. And so that ends up delaying that freedom point, delaying the freedom that you got into business for, because we all got into business for some sort of freedom, right? Time, location, and financial are the biggest ones. So just before we jump into exploring the audience attraction archetypes, we need to just have a little context, the proper context. And a Venn diagram is really useful for this. Let me grab a sip of water. So your audience attraction really involves finding the sweet spot between the online locations where your ideal clients are sure to be, Your archetype, or your personal and professional strengths and preferences, and the actual tools and tactics that you will use to grow your business based on your archetype and based on where your audience is. There's your sweet spot. And that's what we're going for, is that sweet spot. So let's start by reviewing the online locations where your ideal clients are sure to be, and they are sure to be there. These locations are going to fall into two big categories. The first one is social media, right? Social media platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, et cetera. And each platform has activities that can further your audience building. That is, if you choose to use social media. And the other big category of where your people are is in other people's communities. We call it OPN, or other people's networks. It's like other people's email lists, their online communities. You can also consider real estate, web real estate, so to speak, like blogs, to be other people's networks, podcast audiences, same thing, other people's networks. And there are a variety of activities that you can undertake with other people's networks, like joint venture swaps, where you each promote each other to your respective audiences, or collaborative multi-person events like giveaways and summits, guest blogging, podcasts, and lots more. And honestly, ask anybody who's been at this for years, and they will all tell you the most important, no, not most important, the most effective, maybe it's the most important because it's the most effective, right? The most effective between these two, social media and other people's networks, is going to be OPN. So the next section of the Venn diagram is the one that focuses on your personal and professional strengths and preferences. In other words, your archetypes. And remember, your preferences matter. There's so many people who think, I've got to do this, right? You can see the eyeballs roll up. I've got to do this or that. That's not a place you want to be. You want to find your preferences because they matter. It matters. So some of you are here and you've already taken the audience attraction archetype quiz. If you haven't, here's a link where you can do that after this training, okay? quiz.sixfigurenewsletters.com. Definitely want to take that. So here's what you want to know about archetypes as we get into these. Number one, people usually have one dominant archetype. And I've been hearing from a lot of you, which is really cool to say, who are saying, oh yeah, this totally makes sense. This is definitely me. You can have one, maybe two secondary archetypes. I have one stronger and one weaker secondary archetype. And the thing is, your archetype is not a straitjacket. You still have choice. If something doesn't fall under your archetype as an easier way of being in the audience building world, then that's your choice. You can use one or all of the indicated strategies that we're going to go over for your archetype. One is fine, is sufficient. If you really work it, one is totally fine. And so if you are going to choose, for example, something that's not under your archetype, then what you want to do is to lean into your archetypal qualities wherever it is that you decide you're going to be playing, to build your audience. So let's go through each of the archetypes now. So we've already been through the journalist a little bit, but journalists like getting people to share their stories. Writing is a strength. They, generally speaking, prefer to kind of stay out of the spotlight when possible. So if you would raise your hand, who else got journalist? Yeah, good. Raise your hand if you got journalist. Okay, cool. That gives me a good sense. So for the journalist, hosting speaker summits, as I suggested that I did, and podcasts, or even appearing on them as an interviewee, that means both the summit and the podcast, are particularly satisfying because we journalists generally love and are good at interviewing. Our ideal social media platform for building our audience, if we choose to use social media, is Facebook. And that's because your writing can shine there. And the other thing that journalists are good at as a strategy is guest blogging, posting your articles on other people's blogs. Remember, other people's web territory. And then books, as I mentioned, can be an excellent audience building tool for journalists. The artist, and I'm going to give an example of each of the archetypes, but since I've already given myself as an example, I just am leaving it there. So the artists are naturally creative and drawn to art and design and photography. Duh. So who got the artist? Who here got the artist? Quite a few of you. Looks like about the same as journalists, maybe slightly lower. That's my son, by the way, with his camera. So artists, if they choose to use social media, their ideal audience attraction platforms include Pinterest, Instagram, and YouTube, where you can really express and share your artistic vision. And artists can use their connection to visual beauty to support any audience building tasks that they have to do that maybe some don't feel so rewarding, right? For example, when developing webinars, list building webinars, artists would do really well to lean into slide creation, like make that artistic process really enjoyable. Hosting giveaways can also provide an outlet for that kind of visual delight. And artists are also ideally suited for the right kinds of joint venture partnerships where their creativity can shine. An example of the artist is a fellow named Ian Roberts. Up until the beginning of 2020, Ian was he's an artist himself, a visual painter. He was mostly doing workshops in France, like pretty cool, right? But they were all in-person workshops. And he actually started transitioning to finding his online base a little bit, like a few months before COVID hit. But it was a really fortuitous thing that he was already starting to make that transition, make that pivot. And he started teaching on YouTube. I mean, he really has gone to town on a YouTube strategy. And he's got, as you can see here, 82 plus thousand subscribers now. His YouTube videos are very popular. He teaches as he paints. And he has recently launched some training programs that have been amazingly successful. Another thing that Ian does that's really important is he makes sure to get people who are connected with him on YouTube over to an email list as well. Very, very important for you to do that. That's my son. That's his Instagram channel. That's the only thing he uses to build his business, and he's doing really well. My secondary archetype is the artist. And so you can kind of see it. This is our giveaway, the giveaway that I ran. You can see the attention to design. Like, I don't design myself. I'm not that gifted, but I appreciate art and it's really important for me. So I always make sure that the things that I create are beautiful. So I'm just showing you a few examples of how your archetype might be a secondary. Like you can look at your secondary archetype and see how that influences what you do as well. The host. Hosts gather people together and start conversations. So who got the host? Who here got the quiz result that they are the host? Cool. Oh, lots of people. Nice. So the host, should they choose to use social media, their ideal social media platforms for audience building would include Clubhouse and Twitter, where they can ask smart questions and be the moderator, the host of the conversation. They're a natural at hosting summits or podcasts or giveaways, any kind of collaborative multi-person event that needs a leader, host would be great for. And the right kind of JV activities can support their hostess with the mostest inclinations, right? You can host others. That's why I put JV swaps, because you're actually hosting another person for your audience. My friend Kathleen Gage has currently 2 podcasts. You can tell she's a host, and she's also quite active on Clubhouse. And these are her current podcasts. She's had others in the past. And I will say, host is like my secondary, it's the second of my secondary archetypes. And it's not that I'm a natural party host, I'm not, but I'm comfortable enough being a leader of multi-person collaborative events that are really great audience builders. So that's how I interpret my results as having that second. I don't think any of the other archetypes. I didn't answer yes to any of the other archetypes questions. The organizer. Organizers love to create groups and organize ideas, and they're naturally good at keeping things in order. So who here got the organizer? Okay, cool. Not quite as many. That's okay. I love what the organizers do. So the ideal social media platforms, if organizers want to use social media for audience attraction, include Facebook, where they can arrange people into groups or communities or participate in already arranged groups. And then Pinterest with its boards and pinning activities, and Instagram with its neat little blocks of photos. Organizer heaven. Organizers are also really well suited for assembling groups of colleagues into giveaways or summits. And Patty Farmer, somebody who's come on one of my trips. Patty Farmer is a great example of an organizer. This is Patty's Pinterest page. You know exactly what you call it. But you can see here how she's organized everything into, like if you click on one of these blocks, you come up with a whole bunch of posts. This is her quote of the day block, and her marketing and media and money magazine block, and social media branding. So books for business. So she's really organized everything into very accessible and quite nice looking, ways of getting into the content that she offers. And that's her Instagram page. So you can see it's also kind of organized well. Looks very organized anyway. And then she does an interesting thing. She also organizes people and topics into a magazine, an actual magazine, which is a more unique audience attraction strategy. There's not a lot of people that use this strategy, but it's totally in alignment with her archetype. The connector. Who got the connector here? Raise your hands. Connectors love connecting and matchmaking like-minded people, especially for joint venture partnerships, affiliate relationships, collaborative events, and more. So let's see how many connectors we have here. So ideal social media platforms for audience attraction, if they choose to use social media, I always have to put that caveat in there, are Clubhouse and LinkedIn and Facebook, where they can network and connect people with peers, with prospects. The gift of connectors, that ability to connect people and connect to people. It's a really, I wish I had more of the connector in me. But that gift makes guest blogging a really appropriate and useful and enjoyable activity for them. It's very connection intensive. And then, of course, multi-person giveaways, again, natural fit. And of course, because they're such great connectors, they do great with JVs. This is Dove, sorry, I always mispronounce his name. This is Dove Gordon. And not only does he have, his whole business is called profitablерelationships.com. There you go, relationship connectors, right? But he also has, see the up here, the JVMM, that's the joint venture mastermind. And he's gathered a whole bunch of people together in this one, I think it's a Google group maybe. And it's a wonderful, wonderful way to connect with other potential joint venture partners. And there are a few other people who have joint venture organizations. You can almost bet that they themselves are probably connectors. And then my friend Marcy Nelson Garrison is a great connector. Before I tell you about this, she also has a store called Coaching Toys. So she has been connecting with coaches for years and having them put their card decks and their whatever their coaching products are. So she gathers them all together and has them in her Coaching Toys store. But she's also the host of, or the co-host of, a giveaway that's now, they've just, a few months ago completed their 6th annual giveaway, and they've become very well known, and it's a very successful giveaway. So she's connecting all the time with potential contributors, and so very clear connector person. And then our last one, actually, before I go through the talent, I want to say there is one more, and I didn't even create a slide for it because it's pretty unusual to get this, but it's not impossible. And we called it the unicorn, because it could be that that none of the other archetypes really captured exactly who you are and what you are interested in and what you can bring to the table, right? So with the unicorn, it just means a little extra work to find out what is that special essence for you and what that looks like in terms of your list building activities. So the talent shines in the spotlight. Yes, raise your hands if you got the talent. They are naturals on camera, so they gravitate toward video and interviews. These are the people who would not do videos upside down or film multiple, 50 to 100 videos and not ever do anything with them. No, these are people that love the camera and love sort of, just being in full view. So ideal social media platforms for people who get the talent as their archetype include YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, kind of a lot, especially the video portions of that. So it would be Instagram Reels and Instagram Stories and Facebook Lives and stuff like that. Basically anywhere that they can be themselves on camera. Now, most of the time with all the other archetypes, I've been saying, if you choose to use social media, these are your platforms. But for talents, I actively recommend social media, because for them, whipping out a camera and filming something is as natural as breathing. You don't have to do social media There are still plenty of ways that the talent, like you can still create lots of videos and just have them on Vimeo, but email them to your list. Like it's not essential that you do social media, but it is a real natural fit. Talents also do really well on webinars as a podcast guest, a little bit less so as a podcast host. They really shine as podcast guests, certainly on stage speakers, right? Anywhere they can speak freely. I don't know how many of you know Zach George. Zach George is the quintessential talent. He is the #1 most subscribed to dog trainer on YouTube. He's wonderful. He's got this show called Reality Dog Training. He's been doing videos for years now. And he primarily, his business model is a little bit different than some of ours in that he primarily earns his money from advertisements that people who advertise, companies that advertise on his shows. However, and it's a really good show. If you are interested in dog training, I have a rescue who I've had almost exactly a year, and I really needed some assistance learning. And so this reality dog training show is fantastic. But I want to point out that he also smartly gets people to sign up for his email list, right? Not doing this, having people sign up for your email list is a very big mistake for people who use social media very actively. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday. And then another person, this is a good friend of mine, Pat Michaud. Pat has been utilizing the tools of the talent for years. She was primarily a business coach, and then she transitioned into helping business owners and others take care of their most prized possessions, their body, their health. So she's an amazing business coach and an amazing model for her own wellness-oriented business. And she whips out a video anywhere, anytime, and is willing to be seen, even vulnerably. Like I've traveled with her. I drove across Canada with her in the fall, during the fall colors. Oh my God, what a great trip. And, it just took no time at all for her to create probably, 10 to 15 videos during our drive that she posted, that she actually did something with. So Pat is a true talent. And I just want to reiterate, these archetypes aren't to restrict the audience building strategies that you choose. You can build your audience your way, right? If you find something else that's not in your archetypal basket, you're welcome to do that. You can build your audience your way. It's your choice. And I had an email from a friend of mine in Italy last week. She took the quiz and then got in touch with me. And she says, my artist type confirms my need to do more evergreen content on YouTube and be more playful on Instagram. I have been forcing myself, however, to be serious on LinkedIn, but it's too stiff. So I need to show up real, professional, and fun how I am if I want to continue to use that platform. And of course, get moving on the others. So YouTube and Instagram are definitely indicated for the artist, but LinkedIn isn't. And she was feeling it, right? So she could continue to use LinkedIn. If she wants to use it, that's no problem. Maybe she chooses to do that because there are a ton of her audience there, but she'll want to lean into her artist qualities so that she stands out on that platform. So just as a quickie little reminder, you can have one dominant, you generally have one dominant archetype. You can have 1 to 2 secondary archetypes. Use one or all of the indicated strategies and lean into your archetypal qualities wherever you play to build your audience. But what happens if you just build a list and stop there, right? I have had a lot of guilty feeling, sheepish clients all the time, confessing that, well, I started building an audience, but I haven't really done a thing with them, right? And here's what you get when that happens. Out of sight, out of mind. You become a blank slide to those people. They forget who you are. If you happen to email them, they'll say, who the heck is this person emailing me? And basically your audience building efforts are wasted, right? Or the opposite, right? I've had people who build a list and then just promote. And your audience might not forget who you are. It would be kind of hard to forget who you are if you're just selling all the time, but they will be more inclined to have a negative impression of you, and your unsubscribes will be higher, and you'll have, results like lower attendance and lower registration and lower enrollment and lower sales. So there's actually a missing link. There's a gap, and it needs your special touch. And we need to explore that. And so that is what our day 2 webinar is all about. So please don't miss it. Come on Wednesday. Come on Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat station. It's going to be a real hands-on session with 2 really awesome exercises that you can use to get started right away on this missing link, and get some hot seat coaching from me as well. And then on Friday, we will put it all together and explore how to monetize your audience with offers that they can't resist. That is a really fun topic that befits the fun glasses, the fun sunglasses. So I have a homework assignment for you today. I want you to, if you haven't already, take the audience attraction archetype quiz. And the website where you can do that is quiz.sixfigurenewsletters.com. And then I want you to email me. This is going to be very quick, very simple. Email me your primary archetype and the indicated platform for your archetype that you most feel connected with, that you most align with. So that's an email that's going to take you 30 seconds max to do. So I really want you to do this homework, because, and there's the email where you can send it to. Send it to clientcare@clairecommunications.com, and be sure you spell Claire properly. And put in the subject line homework. Okay, we'll sort by subject lines. So you want to make sure to get your homework in by putting the subject line homework, and submit it by 9 a.m. Pacific on Wednesday in order to get into the grand prize drawing that I'm going to have on Friday. And the grand prize drawing is so weird. I don't know where those red marks came from. The grand prize drawing is a spot in my program that's coming up, Your Audience, Your Way. And so if you do today's homework, you get 1 entry into the drawing. And if you do Wednesday's homework, then you get another entry. So you can get 2 entries into the drawing that we will do on Friday. And the way we do it is with this fun wheel of names, online wheel of names. We actually spin it. Okay, so let's get back to this. So locations where you can be sure to find your clients. This is our important Venn diagram. Your personal and professional strengths and preferences, and then the attraction activities that grow your audience, right? That's your sweet spot right there, that star. So remember this list? I'm not going to read it again. Well, here's what we can do with that list. Because we are looking for the sweet spot. You get to work in that delicious little space. Your clients are there, your audience attraction strategy aligns, and you undertake the right attraction activities. It's 100% possible to build an amazing audience and to do it your way. And when you know who and where your audience is, and you lean into your audience attraction archetype, like this dog is leaning into his owner. I love dogs that are leaners. Then your audience attraction efforts take off, right? You can begin to connect with your audience in ways that feel natural and fun. And you can stick to just a few simple audience building strategies, because literally that's all you need. Somebody's drawing on my slides. Raymondo Chan. Can somebody please do something about Raymondo Chan? That's not cool. One second. Thank you. Well, apologies, everyone. I don't know how that happened, but ignore the red lines. So the cool thing is that you can stick to just a few simple audience building strategies, because that's really all you need. So over the years, I have coached thousands of students and clients to find their own comfortable and effective audience building strategy. And I want to share with you just a couple of them right now. Anne Ryan, lovely, lovely student. Anne and her 3 co-founders wanted to spread the word about the power of thankfulness. It's kind of a legacy project for them. And they wanted to help people find a very tangible way to show their thankfulness. So they put together DIY, do-it-yourself thank you card kits. And that's where they came to me to help them get the word out. The problem was that the audience wasn't very clear at all. Was it grandparents, teachers, churches, temples, mosques, community groups for kids, all of the above? And as I coached them through identifying their ideal target market, I recognized that Anne and her team were actually up to so much more than thank you cards. They actually wanted to start a movement. And while they were in class, they found a perfect place to focus their movement, business leaders, and a perfect event to really kickstart their audience building efforts right there in our class, because 4 classmates had gotten together to create a collaborative giveaway. You know, we talked about that a bit, right? That was focused on leadership. And so Anne participated in this event, and in the giveaway, she says they quadrupled their mailing list. She says, we're really happy about that. Now it's just rinse and repeat again and again. We have the formula for achievement. And she also says, when we began to see ourselves, our business as a movement, our eyes opened wider and we began to see the world in a different way. And by that, I mean that we were no longer just selling the idea of making and sending thank you cards, right? We had things to teach and messages to share. And so that ended up spawning already just, in the past few months, 2 new courses, 2 new books, a podcast guest blitz strategy that they are excitedly pursuing, and a new name, The Thankful Project, which I love as the name of a movement. Desiree Blanco is a single mom of a son, and she is passionate about unschooling, which, for those of you who don't know, is a child-led, unstructured form of homeschool learning. And she wants to build a business that can sustain her and her son and allow them to travel and live the lives that they want to live. I really related with her. And she came to the course in an enviable position. She already had a large Facebook group. It kind of just grew on its own. The thing is, she was giving away tons of free advice for parents who were interested in unschooling. And the problem was really like, how do I make a business out of all this free advice that I've been giving? And so the first thing that we had to do was to get them over to her email list. So during class, we came up with the idea to do an opt-in freebie that covers everything that anyone interested in unschooling needs to know to get started. She began putting that out to her group, and people started responding. And she had an experience, she had multiple experiences of real relationship with her subscribers that she didn't really know was possible. And she said, I have had great success with the autoresponders that have gone out after my freebie. My third autoresponder got some amazing replies of people sharing their own stories in detail and at length. This experience has melted my heart. And I love that she had that experience because it is true. This will melt your heart. When you develop your audience and a relationship with them, it melts your heart. She's now in the process of creating a paid membership community. She's unfortunately had a very recent string of family deaths that has sidelined her for a little bit, but she knows where she's headed. She says, I seem to be finding my footing slowly, but surely. I have greater engagement with my community and greater focus. And this has been a game changer in my business. So you can do things like this on your own. You can build your audience on your own through the kind of trial and error over the years that I did, that Anne did, that Desiree did, or I can take you by the hand and guarantee your success in just 1 year. And the way to do that is through my new Your Audience, Your Way program. In this program, which starts May 12th, you'll add at least 1,000 subscribers to your list, plus have a robust system in place to continue adding eager and new audience members and converting them into clients without having to force yourself to use platforms or do activities that aren't you. All of this within just 1 year, and it's guaranteed. Your Audience Your Way is a methodical step-by-step system. And all of my students tell me they so love and so appreciate how step-by-step it is. There are 5 overarching steps. The first one is to know exactly who you're serving. We have several modules where we go through that. Lay the right foundations is step 2. Attract the right people, do those attraction activities. Nurture loyalty and engagement. And then make irresistible offers. And in the process, you set yourself free. So this 16-week online training and coaching program meets you exactly where you are, whether you are starting from scratch, just beginning your business, or just beginning the process of getting online with your business, or you've been in business for a while, but have an unresponsive list that needs some love and attention. Whether you love or hate social media, or whether you've been working really hard at audience building, but you seem to be stuck at a small list that just won't grow. And you are ready to ramp up and ready to maybe start working from anywhere if that's your freedom dream, ready to start earning more money. You might be at that place that I was 15 years ago where I don't want to do this anymore if I can't start making some more money. So in the program, we cut through the chaos and the overwhelm that typically surrounds the topic of audience building to find the best ways for you to reach and attract and serve the perfect audience for your business. I will show you my 3, I call them fail-proof techniques because they truly are, to clearly identify the perfect audience for your business and your personality and your vision, so that not knowing is never again a reason that you can't move forward. You will discover how to leverage your personal audience attraction archetype every step of the way in building your audience, so that the customized system that you create truly feels like you and becomes something that you want to do rather than something you resent doing. And because it's simple and it's aligned with who you are, then it's enjoyable. And when it's enjoyable, it becomes doable and you'll be more consistent at it. And what does consistency bring us? Results. You will easily create the 3 non-negotiable foundational elements that you must use to add people to your audience, or you'll create some new upgraded foundations that work better so that you're ready for the floods soon to join your world. And I have templates and step-by-step guidance to help flip this process from confusing to, wow, I feel pretty confident about this. You'll learn my quick and enjoyable 3-part process to jumpstart your ideal list or create a growth spurt in an existing list and really quickly heat up your subscribers so you don't waste any time leveraging your audience. You'll have your own personal library of 20 plus step-by-step audience attraction instruction sheets so that you can select the list building platforms and activities that most resonate with you, so that, you know, with these instruction sheets and my guidance, you'll always know exactly what you're doing and you can confidently ignore the rest. And I'll teach you my exclusive 4 methods to connect with your audience so deeply that it'll feel to you like they're throwing themselves into your products and your programs without you having to do any of that yucky, sleazy feeling selling. So you'll create a plan to serve and help your audience at every stage of your relationship so that your interactions with them are always valuable and generous and authentically you. And the 3-step process, an important 3-step process to monetize your audience for maximum impact, along with some plug and play promotional email templates that you can send. Now, this essential step allows you to finally increase your income and control your hours and set yourself free. And perhaps the most valuable of all, I will help you finally cut through the fear and the doubt and the self-sabotage that can often hold people back from building an audience for themselves. And working within my structure, you'll feel empowered to act and motivated to continue and fully supported all along the way. Christine, who's a beautiful harpist. Oh my gosh, her music is amazing. I listen to it when I'm getting a massage. She says, I loved being part of Linda's program. She takes a complex system with many interlocking parts and breaks it down into easy to understand steps. Before studying with Linda, I felt overwhelmed by the many aspects of the online business world, but now I feel much more confident about how to achieve my goals. I have so many more tools and ideas that I can continue to weave into my business for years to come to help me reach more people with my work and message. So again, just as a reminder, this is a program to help you add at least 1,000 subscribers to your list, plus have a robust system in place to continue adding new audience members and converting them into clients without forcing yourself to use platforms or do activities that aren't you. And it's a guaranteed outcome. And the cost is only $197 a month. You can save nearly $300 if you pay in full, but you can easily get started for $197, and then you'll make 8 additional monthly payments. Excuse me. And the link to join is youraudienceyourway.com/join. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this guarantee. I'm very confident in what I'm teaching. So I back that up by giving you our 1,000 followers, double your money back guarantee. So come to classes, do the work, come to me for help if you're struggling, do what I suggest. We keep at it until you're on track. But if you truly hit the ground running, you can do this. You can do this during our 4 months together, the 4 months of the program. But sometimes, and you know, it depends on your situation, laying the foundations can take a little bit longer, right? And that's okay, because this guarantee is good for an entire year. Ted was in class when he joined a JV community. joint venture community where other people were looking to joint venture, right? We're looking for partners. And he says, and there was a giveaway happening 2 weeks from then. They said, well, if you have a lead magnet, if you have a landing page, if you have a thank you page, if you have a nurture sequence, you can join the giveaway. Well, I had a lead magnet, landing page, thank you page, and a nurture sequence because I did it in Linda's program. So I joined and I got 150 signups. Then I did another one. I've now added about 800 people altogether so far. So that was while he was in class. So just to real quickly give you some practical information, this is 16 weeks of live training, plus, of course, lifetime access to the class recordings. It includes step-by-step guides showing you the simplest way to get quick results with the most common audience building methods. And that includes social media, Facebook, Clubhouse, Instagram, et cetera, joint venture partnerships, podcasts, and others, so that you have what you need to create and implement your custom list building plan. For the technology, we've got step-by-step video instruction. It's almost like paint by numbers, so that you don't get stuck on the technology. And I know that's, as I heard earlier in our session today, that's a thing. I understand. We've got action assignments to keep you on track and focused on the highest leverage opportunities for you. There are worksheets and templates and checklists and done for you content galore. And something that's really important to me is the 5 get it done days. And these are days when we meet together and we get work done. We get it done. And you can choose whatever it is that you want to work on, whether it's related to the modules that you've been going through, or it's something else. But it's great to be able to get together virtually and be able to hold each other as we are getting our work done individually. So that's a whole day that we do 5 times. And it keeps you moving forward so you don't fall behind in the course as well. Our weekly coaching sessions are where you can ask questions, get support, share wins, get unstuck, receive feedback, both from me and from your classmates, and overcome whatever roadblocks are stopping you. The coaching sessions are all about getting into your situation and how to get you moving on to the next thing. And this is super important to me. You've probably taken courses before and the course ends and you're like, okay, now it's all me, I'm all on my own. And I don't like that. I think people need support, especially in the topic of audience building. And so after our 16-week program ends, you have an additional 8 months of support from me. So we have monthly coaching calls to keep you going and moving forward. And that's also a place where, you can ask me, this isn't working. So what else can I do? Julia Stege is somebody I've known for many, many years. She says, I was stuck in low list land for years before I met Linda Claire Puig. My list only grew by a few dozen to 100 names in a year, and my income had plateaued at 5 figures. Linda had told me that growing my list would be the key to a 6-figure business, and boy, was she right. My list more than doubled, and my income took a huge leap when I started using her strategies. I want to just mention a couple of bonuses that you get. The first one is you get 24 ready-to-go articles to use in your nurturing of the audience that you're building. This means that you get to save a lot of time and not have to write the articles. You can edit them if you like. These are articles that are, I'll tell you more about them on Wednesday, but they're articles that you can use as your own, and they're fantastic, if I do say so myself. And there are about 600 to choose from. So you get 24 ready-to-go articles, and then if you join during this boot camp period, you get a special one-on-one consultation with me. After a particular period of time in the course, once you've kind of put your plan together, then we meet on the phone and we go over it and make sure that it's exactly the right plan with exactly the right strategies for you, for your audience building plan. And I'll give you my stamp of approval when it's all ready, when we've decided on what is exactly the right thing for you. So I would really love for you to join me in this program. It's a fantastic and foundational program, if I do say so myself. It will help you build an audience your way that will grow your business and, importantly, set you free for whatever adventures your life has in store for you. And you can start today for just $197. That's $197 for 9 months. And you can also save some additional cash if you want to pay in full, $14.97. youraudienceyourway.com/join. And one last comment from one of my students, Maria says, Linda's an excellent teacher and coach. And I don't say that lightly. I've taken a lot of courses and been in a lot of programs, and I would recommend Linda unconditionally. She takes a very broad topic and breaks it down into bite-sized, doable action steps that, taken together, make a huge difference. She offers varying approaches, recognizing that in business, there is no one size fits all. She makes the learning process fun and brings together a great group of folks in a very supportive atmosphere where we can be comfortable where we are and be willing to make mistakes as we stumble forward. And there are some really interesting things that happen with the student body in my courses. One of them I alluded to a little bit ago. 4 of them got together to create a giveaway focused on the topic of leadership, and had a great time and a great learning experience doing that as well. So when you build your audience your way without all the overwhelm and sometimes the guilt and the heaviness and whatnot, your audience truly does set you free. Free to fill your programs and sell out your products and services. Free to send one email that reaches literally tens of thousands of people and makes a difference in their lives and in your pocketbook. Free to finish up at 3 p.m. if you want, so you can pick up your kids from school, spend the rest of the day with them. Free to travel the world and experience new cultures and adventures because your audience supports you. And free to create whatever lifestyle you've always wanted for yourself or for your partner, for your kids, for your future. So join me, risk-free, build an audience, youraudienceyourway.com/join. So just a quick reminder as we wrap up today's homework assignment. Take the quiz if you haven't already. Email me your primary archetype and whichever platform that's indicated for your archetype that you most align with. Send it to clientcare@clairecommunications.com with the subject line homework, and submit it by 9 a.m. Pacific on Wednesday, April 27th. That's this Wednesday, for our grand prize drawing on Friday. That being a spot in Your Audience Your Way. And if you, last time we did this, the person who won the grand prize drawing had already signed up for the course, so we refunded her money. So that will happen to you too if you are the winner of the grand prize drawing and you've already signed up. And remember, on Wednesday, we're going to explore that missing link, that gap that needs your special touch, and we'll be exploring that. It's going to be a super hands-on session. And then on Friday, monetizing, offers. Let's do offers that your audience can't resist. So here we are. There's the URL on this slide, but I wanted to take this time to answer any questions that you may have. So I think Elizabeth has been doing probably a phenomenal job answering certain questions, but there might be some that are just for me. And so I think she and Chung have been collating the questions. So Chung, if you want to, can you unmute yourself and let me know if you've got some questions?
Yeah, sure. All right. Let's see. So there's a bunch of questions. Have you given the link to take the archetype quiz?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And so one of the questions is, how do you know where you can, how do you know, how can you be sure to know where to find your ideal clients?
That involves a fair amount of research if you don't already have a sense of it. Sometimes you already have a sense of it, but if you don't at all, then it's just a matter of researching. And that means researching either social media areas. And oftentimes I have a good sense of it already that I can steer you in that direction. Or sometimes it means researching other individuals and other websites that might have your audience, that might be attracting the same audience.
Awesome. So we have another one from Manette. So the question is, what if you don't want a flood of clients, but you really just want a limited but high paying clientele?
Sweet, I love it. Look, the reality is that the more people that you have in your community and in your audience, the easier it's going to be for you to fill those limited VIP client slots. And just to add one more thing, where you would want to be attracting your audience is probably in that situation. Like if you were going to, there are some social media strategies you could use, but more important, I think, would be the other people's networks strategies, where you would partner with people who also have, high net worth individuals, or, people who are used to buying high dollar prices, programs and whatnot.
Perfect. So another question is this better for B2C versus B2B?
It's good for both.
Perfect. Someone has a question about the guarantee. Is there a can you say a little bit more about the guarantee? Maybe just repeat it so people are aware.
Absolutely. The guarantee is that within a year, you'll have grown your list by at least 1,000 people. So our program goes 4 months, and then the extra 8 months we have coaching during that period of time. And so that guarantee is valid for that entire year.
Thank you. And do you have 1 or 2 examples of people who are considered the unicorn?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Or it could be a different archetype, but just maybe another example that people can kind of grasp onto.
You know what? I think that's a really good. I think that's a really good thing, and I regret not having a slide with an example of somebody, but it's very rare, and so I will think of that between now and Wednesday, and during our Q&A session, I'll do a little bit of a, about this person who was a unicorn.
Perfect. So I guess what would you suggest for people who are unicorns? Like, what's kind of the next step for them?
That's also a really good question. So I think that the step for yourself as a unicorn is to look at your strengths and your preferences, whether they fall into any of those other 6 archetypes or not. Like, make a list of what it is that you really love to do, and not just in business, but like in life. Look in life and look, what do I really like to do? And then start looking and matching that with activities and whatnot that will be conducive to building an audience. So for example, I mentioned Patty Farmer, who has a magazine. It's not a strategy that I teach that much because not that many people want to do that, but that might be something that comes out of your exploration for, what do I really love to do? And what could I use to, to build my audience? How could I turn that into something that I can do to build my audience? And that's the kind of thing that we talk about in our coaching sessions. Like all of the students in my classes just, it's such a great time to be in the coaching sessions, because you not only get really in-depth attention from me, but also you hear all the other people and what they're asking and what they're going through. And it's really, in all cases, the students have become like a community and they support each other. Sometimes they, like those women, sometimes they collaborate and get together. So anyway.
Perfect. Do we have much more time for a couple more questions, or?
Yeah, my presentation went on a little bit longer than I thought, so I will stay another 5 minutes if we have still some questions. And if we have more than I have time for in 5 minutes, then we can just roll those into Wednesday's questions.
Perfect. So Janice asks, or what if you're still at the development stage? She's wondering, do you recommend blogging and website platforms in your program?
I think the most important thing when you're just starting out is to start building your audience as soon as possible. That way, when your website is all ready, then you have an audience to have a big splash, like, hey, guess what? Big reveal, right? For your website. I know a fellow who started building his list and nurtured it for an entire year before he announced any sorts of programs or website development or anything like that. So I really think that that your audience building is the first thing to do. And I'm not a huge fan of blogging as the most effective way to do that. So beyond that, that's something that we could talk about in class, because it can get really deep here, what some possibilities are. But yeah, focus your efforts on building your audience as you are building your website. And the thing that's really cool about doing that as well is as you attract your audience and as you nurture them and whatnot, grow that relationship with them, you're going to discover much more about your audience that will affect and influence what you're building and what you're creating in terms of your offers and whatnot. So.
Perfect. And I have a question from Sally, who is wondering, is this a good fit? Is this program applicable for a not-for-profit?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything that I should have asked that's very important, but most people don't ask, and that we?
I love that question. I always ask that at the end of my interviews too. What do you wish I would have asked that I didn't? And I'm not prepared for you, Chung. I think that one thing that people ask a lot is why 1,000? Like, why is my guarantee around the number 1,000? Some people who come to my class already have a list, and sometimes it's even more than 1,000. So the guarantee is about adding 1,000, whether you're starting out or adding to. But the reason that 1,000 is important is it's when you get to that number, that's when additional things become open to you, right? I do teach ways that people can join giveaway events. For example, oftentimes giveaway events or summits will have a minimum list size that they want people to have, but there are ways to still get in even if you don't have that list size. That being said, if you have 1,000, that means that you start to become somebody that can more easily get into those kinds of events, and you can more easily connect with others, like and do swaps and stuff like it. It's a tipping point number. Let's put it that way.
Thank you. What about in terms of like characteristics, like from the students that you have coached and mentored, what characteristics are you seeing that makes them successful versus someone who isn't?
Mm-hmm. Persistence. Life has thrown a lot of things at all of us over the last few years, and so sometimes things happen. You get COVID, somebody in your family gets COVID, whatever the situation is. There's a lot of things. So the people who persist beyond those things that can sideline you are definitely successful. And also the ones that show up to coaching sessions and, you know, take full advantage of me and of the community. Like, it's kind of like with anything, you show up, you're going to get results. So showing up, I think, and, you know, whether that means you watch the training after the live session, but you still make sure that you get it, or you ask your question in advance if you can't come to a coaching session. Like, there are ways to really be involved in your training, and that certainly would be advantageous.
Thank you. Looks like we're at the 5-minute mark. There's a few questions. I don't know if you want to take any more, or we can wait till Wednesday to answer some of them.
You want to ask me real quick and I'll see how quickly I can answer?
Sure. So is this mostly for beginners, or is this also for someone that already has an audience, has a list?
It's both.
It's both.
It's both.
Okay.
Yeah, I find that you know, people who have an audience are either frustrated because it's not growing fast enough, or frustrated because it's not giving them what an audience should be giving you. You know, it's not really filling your programs. It's not really filling your VIP spots, et cetera. So yeah, it's appropriate for both. And it's really awesome to have both levels in the course.
Thank you.
So let's just say if there are any additional questions, then we will do that on Wednesday. And I look forward to seeing all of you, as many as possible of you, on Wednesday, so that we can continue this journey. So take care, everyone, and I hope to see some of you in my class. Bye, everyone.